Universals versus particulars is philosophy versus science, mathematics versus science, language versus science, rationalism versus empiricism, reason and logic versus the senses, the analytic versus the synthetic, the a priori versus the a posteriori, the conceptual versus the perceptual, the intelligible versus the unintelligible, the answer versus the non-answer, knowledge versus experience, syntax versus semantics, form versus content, the container versus the contained, logic versus illogic, thinking versus non-thinking. It's staggering that science, just like religion, has been able to spread its propaganda and brainwashing for centuries, unchallenged. When did science ever refute the counter position set out above, the rationalist position? It never did, yet it proceeds as if it has, and even lays claim to being the home of reason and logic. What an obscenity! Ontological mathematics cures all the sins of scientific materialism. The unfathomable? I am trying to prove that the laws of nature are a priori. Kurt Gödel. There's a huge hole in how humanity thinks about reality. The problem is a very old one, but only a tiny group of philosophers ever took an interest in it. To the average person, it's an obscure and unfathomable issue. To the truly intelligent, it's the key to understanding existence. To clarify this issue is to get rid of so much junk in the way of humanity's ability to explain reality. If you consider yourself one of the smartest people in the world, you have to do what unintelligent people never do, and that's to become interested in the most rarefied topics. Topics which seem absurd to the simple-minded, to the sort of people who aren't in the game of explaining reality and never could be. The topic of universals versus particulars is about as unlikely as it gets for understanding our existence, and yet that's exactly where we must look to find the ultimate answers. This debate allows us to make sense of a foundational problem of science. Why science is totally dependent on mathematics even though the mathematical method contradicts the scientific method in every way. Mathematics is for thinking types, rationalists, science for sensing types, empiricists. These are two totally different types of people. Never get them confused. You have to choose a side. The supreme question is whether reality is scientific, material, particular, sensible, or mathematical, mental, universal, intelligible. To put it another way, is reality dead or alive? Is it a mechanism or an organism? Is it stupid, with no purpose, as science says, or is it intelligent, and relentlessly calculating the answer to itself, and driving itself to perfect completion, as it must if it is mathematical? Are you smart enough to understand the answer? Most people aren't. According to Kurt Gödel, a global conspiracy has been in place for centuries to stop humanity from studying Leibniz, the supreme rationalist, and thus, through this neglect, to make men stupid. There might as well be a global conspiracy given how far mathematical rationalism has fallen in order to create space for scientific empiricism, its philosophical opposite. Scientists, the people of the senses, even claim to be champions of reason and logic. As if ontological mathematicians are thinking people, and thinking rationally and logically is all you need to do to work out how reality works. Descartes pointed this out centuries ago, and the only reason his rationalist project failed was that the state of mathematics wasn't advanced enough when he was alive. Now it is, and so now the Cartesian, Leibnizian and Hegelian worldview can replace that of scientific materialism and empiricism. It's time for the greatest paradigm shift of all, from scientific empiricism to mathematical rationalism, from sensing to thinking, from observation to logic, from matter to mind. The knowable universe. We can know the universe because the universe is knowable, because it's a language, a living knowledge system. Language and being are the same thing. They are inherently knowable, not inherently unknowable. If reality were made of unknowable stuff, non-language, matter, no one would be able to understand what reality is. Reality would have no means to understand itself. Science literally claims that reality, despite the scientific method, was unknowable until humanity invented mathematics, because it is only thanks to mathematics, which science says is unreal, that science is intelligible and constitutes a knowledge system. The unlearners. TB said, "The hardest type of learning we go through is the ability to unlearn. Without unlearning a lot of the things we've been spoon-fed our whole life, we will never become a part of a bigger consciousness. Yeah, the trouble is that people like you need to unlearn everything you believe to be true and instead learn everything you currently believe to be false. Never going to happen, sadly." It's hilarious that people talk about unlearning without referencing exactly what it is that needs to be unlearned. TB is a love and light New Ager. All of that stuff is garbage and should never have been learned in the first place. The scientific paradigm relies on real material particulars being governed by unreal mathematical laws, i.e., these laws aren't particular material things, although they are miraculously able to direct such things. No one bothers to explain how this miracle is accomplished. No one cares. Unlearn scientific materialism.